So, y'all peep what just dropped? A dude named Choke No Joke just walked into a podcast studio, cleared his throat, and lit a match right underneath two of the most protected names in this whole entertainment machine, Jay-Z and Charlamagne Tha God. And Choke No Joke ain't no random. This man sat in that iHeartRadio studio, on the Breakfast Club couch, in front of God, DJ Envy, and every Jay-Z stan with a Wi-Fi connection, and told a story about Jay-Z that was so ugly, so unfiltered, so anti-legend, that the entire interview got yanked off the internet like it never happened. Privated, buried, gone. And the man behind that shovel, if you believe Choke No Joke, was the same man who calls himself the architect of accountability, Charlamagne Tha God. Just calling it how I see it, but somebody at Roc Nation has been doing very dirty work for a very long time, and we're only just noticing now. Hold that thought, because it gets uglier. Let's peel this back the right way. For weeks now, Charlamagne Tha God has been catching the kind of heat that used to be reserved for actual villains. Ray Daniels, a respected voice, a music executive with real weight in the culture, went on his platform and said something that lit up every group chat in hip-hop. He said Jay-Z's next album is already finished. He said Jay-Z is out here looking for partners. Small comment, industry chatter, the kind of gossip that gets tossed around 100 times a day in these blogs. But Charlamagne didn't let it slide. Charlamagne didn't just push back. Charlamagne went nuclear. Donkey of the Day, national radio, full segment, made Ray Daniels the villain of the morning drive. And people started asking the question out loud that everybody's been whispering for years. Why is Charlamagne always the one who picks up the phone when somebody says Jay-Z's name? Truth is, though, this loyalty, this bond, this bulletproof allegiance Charlamagne has to Roc Nation isn't new. It didn't start last week. According to Choke No Joke, it's been operating in the shadows for close to a decade. And Choke No Joke isn't guessing. Choke No Joke lived it. Choke No Joke wore the scars of it, literally. Let me tell you where this all began, because you can't understand today without understanding the day Jay-Z's crew allegedly fractured a man's jaw over a video camera. Rewind the tape, back to the Rockefeller era, back when Dame Dash and Jay-Z were still walking around under the same umbrella, still smiling for the same magazine covers, but privately at war. According to Choke No Joke, the split between Dame and Jay-Z started way before the world caught wind of it, and Choke No Joke, a young man on Dame's payroll at the time, got dragged straight into the middle of it. Dame sent Choke No Joke to a Jay-Z concert with a camera. Just film it. That was the assignment. Simple gig, but Jay-Z, standing on his stage, noticed the lens pointed at him and did what Jay-Z does. He sent one of his lieutenants to find out who this cameraman was. The lieutenant came back and told Jay-Z the truth. This dude works for Rockefeller. He's ours. He's on the team. Choke No Joke says Jay-Z's response was cold, immediate, and non-negotiable. Get the tape. I don't care whose team he's on. Get the tape. And that's when the story turns from a business misunderstanding into something that sounds like a scene out of a mob film. Choke No Joke says Jay-Z's people didn't walk up and ask. They didn't negotiate. They jumped him, multiple men, in the middle of the venue, over a camera. Choke No Joke says one of these dudes, the same one he claims later sprayed R. Kelly with mace, if you can believe that side plot, tried to kick the camera out of his hand. Choke moved, the foot missed the camera, it caught him square under the chin. His bottom teeth slammed into his top teeth, his jaw fractured on impact. He dropped, the camera hit the ground, Jay-Z's man grabbed it, ran out the door, and just like that, a working brother was in the emergency room over footage that Dame Dash had told him to shoot, over footage from a concert by the same label he was employed by. Think about the absurdity of that for a second. A man on the Rockefeller payroll getting his face broken by other men on the Rockefeller payroll over a tape that was being shot for a Rockefeller executive. That is not a fight. That is not a misunderstanding. That is a message. Ride with me for a second, because this is where the machine kicks in. Choke No Joke gets out of the hospital. He goes to Dame. Dame confirms it. Yeah, that was Jay. Jay sent them. And instead of a war breaking out inside the Rockefeller building, cooler heads got in the room. According to Choke No Joke, Jay-Z's manager at the time, John Nelly, worked out a quiet settlement. Jay-Z wrote a check, Choke No Joke kept his job, case closed. No police, no press, no paper trail. Choke No Joke says he could have sued for millions, probably should have, but he was young, he was in the streets, and the street code told him not to snitch on Jay-Z. So he swallowed it. He kept it moving. For years, he carried a fractured jaw and a fractured trust in silence because that's what the culture demanded of him. And that's the part that ought to sit in your chest for a minute, because how many other men in hip-hop are walking around with the exact same silence, the exact same swallowed pain, the exact same check that was never big enough for the damage that was done? Until one day, Choke No Joke got invited to the biggest platform of his life, The Breakfast Club. Angela Yee, DJ Envy, Charlamagne Tha God, the three thrones of morning radio hip-hop. And Choke No Joke, being Choke No Joke, told his story raw. He talked about Jay-Z, he talked about the jaw, he talked about the check, he talked about the split with Dame, he talked about the funny stuff. Everything. An hour and 10 minutes of unfiltered truth from a man who watched the Rockefeller dynasty from the inside. And then the phone rang. Now think about this. Truly sit with it. What single artist on planet Earth has enough juice to call a national radio show and say, cut this, edit that, redact this whole conversation about me, bury this man's biggest moment? What one person walks the earth with that much power over morning drive radio? You already know the answer. Choke No Joke says Jay-Z called in. Choke No Joke says 20 minutes of the interview vanished. 20 full minutes of a career-defining sit-down sliced out to protect a billionaire's image. And then, eventually, the whole interview got privated, vanished, scrubbed. If you go looking for it today, you will not find it. And who, according to Choke No Joke, was pushing that scrub button with the biggest smile in the room? Charlamagne Tha God. And that alone would be a story big enough to eat the whole news cycle. But it doesn't stop there, because per the paperwork of Choke No Joke's memory, Charlamagne didn't just help kill the interview. Charlamagne allegedly went the extra mile. He went to Choke No Joke's food. Here's what Choke No Joke lays out. He had a deal working, a real one, MTV, his own tunnel deal, the kind of check that changes a man's whole trajectory. He was working with a producer at MTV who had a direct relationship with Charlamagne, and Choke No Joke made one mistake, the mistake so many of us make when we think we're building with a brother. He told Charlamagne about the deal. He confided in him. He said, "I'm working with your producer. It's happening." That same day, later that afternoon, Charlamagne walked into a meeting with that same producer, right after Choke No Joke walked out. And by the end of that day, according to Choke No Joke, the MTV deal was dead, gone, buried in the crib, buried before it could breathe. A man's whole future, the check, the show, the platform, the audience, deleted between lunchtime and sundown. That's not a business decision. That's an execution. Now, some of y'all are gonna say coincidence. Some of y'all are gonna say the deal probably fell apart on its own. Fair enough, take it or leave it. But let me ask you a very simple question. How many times does this exact same story have to be told before it stops being a coincidence and starts being a pattern? Because this is a pattern, family. This is a blueprint, no pun intended. Ask Bobby Shmurda. Bobby Shmurda has told the world on multiple platforms that Jay-Z and Roc Nation have been trying to strangle his social media reach ever since he started speaking out. Ask a dozen artists who've walked away from Roc Nation with nothing but a non-disclosure agreement and a career that mysteriously stalled overnight. Ask Dame Dash, a man who built the label right next to Jay-Z and now walks around with a lawsuit tattooed to his shadow.
Ask the content creators who've watched Roc Nation copyright strike literal Getty images just to muzzle a commentary video. Ask Ray Daniels, who this week became the latest name added to the list. Ask yourself why the names on this list keep multiplying, but the name at the top of it never changes.
You keep hearing the same story, different subject, same choreography. Somebody speaks out, somebody gets uncomfortable. Somebody's opportunities start drying up. Somebody's platform starts glitching. Somebody's podcast episodes get privated. Somebody's biggest moment gets cut in half. And every single time, the fingerprints trace back to the same building, Roc Nation. And more often than not, per this new wave of receipts, the muscle in the room isn't a lawyer, it's a media man. It's a radio personality. It's the same face who wakes America up in the morning. Look here, I want to be extremely careful with my language because this dude, Charlamagne Tha God, has media training deeper than the Mariana Trench. But I have to say what a lot of y'all are already thinking. Roc Nation isn't just a management company anymore. Roc Nation, per these stories, moves like an institution. And every institution has soldiers. Soldiers who don't need to be on payroll to protect the flag. Soldiers who work for status. Soldiers who work for access. Soldiers who work for the crumbs of proximity to a billionaire. Soldiers who will burn down a friendship before they'll ever risk their seat at the table. And that brings us right back to Ray Daniels. Ray Daniels, this week, sat down and did something rare. He drew the whole map. He connected the dots publicly and calmly. He said, and I want you to hear this for what it is, that Charlamagne Tha God called him personally to chastise him for comparing Jay-Z to Donald Trump. That's what set this whole current war off. Not a diss, not a slander, a comparison. And Ray Daniels asked the exact right question. Why does Charlamagne pick up the phone every single time somebody says Jay-Z's name? Ray Daniels asked why Roc Nation, in its official response, used the phrase fake news. Whose language is that? Whose playbook is that? You already know. It's Donald Trump's playbook, the very man Ray Daniels was drawing the comparison to. And Roc Nation used it back at him in real time. That's not fake news. That's a confession printed on a press release. Ray Daniels went further. He said Charlamagne, a man who in the last 7 or 8 years has stopped punching down at black podcasters, stopped putting black creators in the crosshairs, stopped throwing donkey of the day at his own community, suddenly, out of nowhere, pulled that weapon out of the drawer for him. Suddenly, out of nowhere, made Ray Daniels the target of a national radio hit piece. When was the last time Charlamagne posted Donkey of the Day on his personal Instagram? Ray Daniels said he checked. He said the last one he could find was the one aimed at him. That's not a coincidence. That's a signal flare. That's a man raising a flag over enemy territory and telling everybody in the culture where to point their guns. And Ray Daniels dropped one more line that ought to stop every content creator in this ecosystem cold. Dame Dash called him personally and warned him, told him what's coming, told him how this machine moves. And within days, the machine moved exactly the way Dame said it would. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's a weather forecast that came true. Truth is, though, this doesn't get funny anymore. It stopped being funny a long time ago. And I want to talk directly to Charlamagne Tha God for a minute. Because Charlamagne Tha God is one of us. Charlamagne Tha God is a man a lot of us grew up watching. Charlamagne Tha God is not a stranger. Charlamagne Tha God helped build the very lane a lot of y'all podcasters are eating in right now. Which is what makes this whole thing so painful to watch. Because when you carry water for a billionaire, you don't just carry his brand, you carry his consequences, you carry his karma. Jay-Z can afford to sit on top of the tower and never look down.
Jay-Z can afford to send stones from 100 stories up and never see the pavement. Jay-Z has a billionaire. Jay-Z has private security. Jay-Z has helicopters. Jay-Z has a fortress. Jay-Z has a wife and children insulated by wealth so deep it echoes. But Charlamagne? Charlamagne walks into radio stations. Charlamagne walks past fans. Charlamagne shakes hands. Charlamagne stands in green rooms with the same artists Jay-Z is quietly starving. And every one of those artists knows who took the food out of his mouth. Every one of those artists knows the name on the invoice.
And when a man cannot feed his kids and he can look up and point at your face and say, "You are the reason my table is empty," that man is no longer thinking about a podcast beef. That man is thinking about survival. And survival math does not respect celebrity. Survival math doesn't care about your blue check, your radio contract, your Netflix deal, or your Super Bowl invite. Survival math cares about one thing: the last name a man says before the lights go out on his career. I'm not saying this applies to Choke No Joke. Choke No Joke is doing his thing. Choke No Joke is eating. Choke No Joke has peace. But I am saying that Roc Nation and the men who move on Roc Nation's behalf have made a very long list of enemies over the last 2 decades, and that list keeps growing every single week. And one day, one of those enemies, the wrong one, is not going to write a diss track, is not going to record a podcast rebuttal, is not going to fire off a subtweet. He's going to look up and say, "You took my career, you took my check, you took my name off of every list." And what happens next is not something anyone in the culture actually wants to see. Drop your verdict below because I want to hear this one out. How many times does Roc Nation have to appear as the villain in these stories before we stop calling it a conspiracy and start calling it a case file? How many artists have to tell the exact same tale, the same jumped in a hallway, blackballed out the industry, privated on the internet tale, before the industry admits what the streets have been saying for 20 years? Because I can name you a dozen off the top of my head right now without breaking a sweat. And every single one of them has the same phone number in their call history, the same public relations firm sending the same emails, the same media personality picking up the same phone. Charlamagne Tha God, and I mean this with the little bit of care I still have left for the culture we all share, Charlamagne Tha God has to be careful. Not because we're threatening him, that's not what this is, but because you cannot spend a decade allegedly starving other men out of their careers and expect none of those men to ever find your address. Charlamagne Tha God has to ask himself, right now, tonight, whether Jay-Z is going to answer that door when it gets knocked on. Jay-Z isn't. Roc Nation isn't. Desiree Perez isn't. The billionaires never answer. The soldiers do. The billionaires never bleed for the empire. They only cash the checks it prints. It's the soldiers who catch the smoke. It's the soldiers who lose their friendships. It's the soldiers who wake up one morning and realize that the people they blackballed have finally learned how to blackball back. And that brings me to the last piece of this whole thing, because we've got to name it plainly. Charlamagne Tha God just posted a picture of Desiree Perez on his personal Instagram. Warm caption, public affection, a love letter to a Roc Nation executive on a platform he uses to shape hip-hop culture. And Ray Daniels looked at that same picture and said what most of us were already thinking. Charlamagne, at what point do you just tell us? At what point do you say the quiet part out loud? Because you don't have to be on Roc Nation's payroll to be on Roc Nation's team. Sometimes proximity is the paycheck. Sometimes access is the salary. Sometimes the invitation to the Super Bowl suite is the whole contract. Sometimes the podcast interview with the boss's boss is the bonus. And sometimes a public Instagram post celebrating a Roc Nation executive is the loudest confession a man never officially made. And here is the part I need every young creator, every podcaster, every commentator, every blogger, every kid with a microphone in their bedroom to hear, because this affects you. This is your industry too. When a man like Jay-Z can pick up a phone and cut 20 minutes out of a national radio interview, that's not just Choke No Joke's problem, that's your problem. When Roc Nation can copyright strike a Getty image just to silence a 2-minute commentary clip, That's not just a random YouTuber's problem. That's your problem. When Charlamagne Tha God can throw Donkey of the Day at an executive for a Jay-Z comment and never once face the same standard himself, that's not Ray Daniels' problem. That's your problem. That's our problem. That's the whole culture's problem. Because a media landscape where one billionaire and his lieutenants can rewrite the record in real time is not a media landscape. It's a monarchy. And monarchies fall. Every single one of them, every single time. Jay-Z built an empire on the backs of the same working brothers he is now allegedly starving. Jay-Z made his money selling the streets back to the streets. Jay-Z put his image on every wall of hip-hop culture and asked the culture to protect it. And now, when the culture asks him a single hard question, Jay-Z sends soldiers. Jay-Z sends radio personalities. Jay-Z sends copyright strikes. Jay-Z sends silence. Jay-Z sends everything except the one thing a real king would send: accountability. Because accountability is the one currency Jay-Z has never had to spend. And that's the whole problem right there. A man who has never in his life had to answer for a single decision cannot possibly understand why the culture is finally starting to ask him to. And Charlamagne Tha God, if you're really watching this, and I know somebody on your team probably will be, hear me clearly. You are one of us. You came from the same soil the rest of us came from. Your success is our success, but your compromises are also our compromises. And every time you pick up that phone for Roc Nation, every time you fire that Donkey of the Day cannon on a brother who dared to ask Jay-Z a question, every time you allegedly kill a deal in a hallway that you weren't invited to, you are not defending greatness. You are defending gatekeeping. And gatekeeping in this culture has an expiration date. History remembers the artist. It rarely remembers the doorman. So let this be the moment. Let this be the moment Choke No Joke's story stops being buried. Let this be the moment Ray Daniels stops being isolated. Let this be the moment Bobby Shmurda stops being ignored. Let this be the moment every single artist Roc Nation ever quietly buried gets to stand up and be counted. Because the receipts are here, the pattern is clear, the map is drawn, and the only thing left is for the people who watch this culture, feed this culture, and love this culture to decide whether they're going to keep pretending they don't see it. Push this out, family. Push it far. Push it loud. Push it into every comment section, every group chat, every timeline that ever pretended not to notice. Drop your verdict below. Tell me who you think really made that phone call to the Breakfast Club that day. Tell me whether you believe Choke No Joke. Tell me whether you believe Ray Daniels. Tell me whether you believe there's still one clean man standing at the top of this whole entertainment machine. And when you're done telling me, watch the next video, because this whole story is only just getting started. The names Choke No Joke didn't say out loud on that podcast are the names we're going to be saying next. And trust me, some of those names are going to shake this culture harder than anything you just heard. That's my read. Take it or leave it. I'll see you in the next one.